Hi, this is Willie Crawford, and I'd like to welcome you to this special training. Uh, the title of the training is Trade Smarter, Advanced Barter Methods for Entrepreneurs and Individuals. I hope you enjoy the training. I don't have a lot of graphics in the training because I didn't want to slow down the system too much. My computer's giving me a little problems today. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the training. Disclaimer first, this training is for informational purposes only. It's not professional, legal, or financial advice. If you need those, then you should seek competent professional advice. You assume our responsibility for what you do with this information. Next, who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, I've been online since 1996. I've done everything under the sun in the internet marketing space, everything from creating my own products and services to hosting a podcast to hosting and speaking at I've hosted 7 seminars. I've spoken at well over 100 around the world. I've coached. I've done all kinds of things in the internet market space. I've been a joint venture broker. I've been a software developer. And so that's been most of my background. I retired from the Air Force in 2003, which was 6.5 years after I started my online business. At first, I was doing my online business in my spare time. I'm now semi-retired, and I now both rent lead generation websites that my team and I build, and I teach others to rank and rent websites. I've first learned barter around 2013, and these were some of my mentors. My biggest mentor was a guy named Vence. He created a course called Barter Arbitrage. He created that course 2013, and by the time he got around to creating Barter Arbitrage version 2.0, I was in the course. He lived in Florida where I live, and he offered to come over and actually teach me personally. And I told him that wasn't necessary. I went through the course, I implemented what he taught, and by the time he created version 2, I was that good at doing barter. I also learned a lot from Jim Straw, author of You Too Can Be a Millionaire in 1 Year or Less, which was an ebook he released and sold at $100 a copy. And as an affiliate of his, I actually sold copies of that ebook. You can find that ebook now out there on the internet. People have put it up on black hat sites and places like that. He never authorized anyone to give away his work, but it's out there in cyberspace now. I learned a lot from Jay Abraham, a legendary marketer, and I've I actually shared the stage with him. Internet Marketing Summit Singapore in 2008, and I've been at a lot of other events with him. But he was the first person I heard about triangulation from, which I'll talk about a little as we get into the training. My goal in this training is to teach you literally everything that you ever want to know about the world of barter. Uh, and that's a world where you buy goods and services without using cash. And I'm teaching you how to buy goods and services when you have absolutely no cash, because that's the thing that's stopping most people from building or growing their business. They use that excuse, I don't have any cash, I don't have any money. And I want to show you, you do not need money. You absolutely, positively do not need money to grow a business if you understand the world of barter. So what is barter? Well, in the simplest terms, it's the exchange of goods and services for goods and services of equal value. It's like, in the old days, a farmer would say, I have some piglets that were just born. You want one of my pigs for a half dozen chickens? And, that was the way things were done at one time. Doctor came over to see you, and you paid the doctor and whatever you had on hand. This is not that. It's stepped up quite a bit. It's a whole new world of high tech, computerized, and it's magic. The necessary mindset that you're going to need to adopt, and most of you will need to change your current mindset, is you want to think of barter the same as you think of cash. Barter is just another form of currency. It is as good and at times better than cash. And the IRS thinks of barter as the same as cash. If you when you report your barter earnings to the IRS, you're expected to file a 1099-B, and the IRS even has a special department to answer questions for those who don't understand the legalities of barter and all those things. They've looked at barter for decades, and they understand it. And so they want you to file. And in fact, most barter exchanges, including the one I'm in, issues a 1099-B each year. They turn it into the IRS. So the IRS in the US already knows how much you've earned in barter. And so it's your job to properly document that and file it on your tax return. And so um, you need a good accountant and a bookkeeper, and you need to keep proper records. Speaking of accountants and bookkeepers and all that stuff, you can find accountants and bookkeepers on barter. There are some listed in my barter exchange. Barter is also a world that's it's a world where we trust each other. And there's also a semi-secretive world I put hidden in plain sight. And the reason I put that is because you can visit businesses every day right on Main Street that do barter, and they have, some of them, little decals next to their window on their door that looks akin to a Visa or MasterCard sign, but it's the name of their barter exchange usually. And the average person wouldn't even know what that means. And so they ignore it. So it's businesses do barter, and it's in plain sight, but it's, you don't know what you don't know, then you don't notice it, but it's there. And I put the secretive. So at one time it was, I mean, super, super secretive. It was only talked about in hushed whispers. And in fact, when I took the first started studying barter and I went through the barter arbitrage course, it was a struggle to even get accepted into a barter club, and you needed contacts and things like that. So the guy who taught me, Vegas Vince, he knew someone in the world of barter who was a broker, and that person sort of greased the skids to get Vince's students into the barter exchange that we all joined. But why is it so secretive though? It's secretive because if the average consumer knew that they could that they could get a hotel room or furniture or uh, a used car or even a new car or a home or land or cruise cabins or, all those things that are offered in the barter world, legal services, dentistry, if they knew they could get those for barter, then they would want to haggle with the provider. And the provider would rather have cash most of the time. In fact, all the time, they probably prefer cash, but they do offer their services in the barter world. What they do is they offer their excess capacity in the barter world, because if you have hours you're sitting around doing nothing, or you have something that you're not using, then swapping it for barter and using those barter dollars to buy something else you need makes sense, rather than just letting it go to waste. So it's available, and it makes sense for the business owner to swap with other people in the world of barter, but they don't want the public to know too much about it, because then the public would want to haggle with them and try to figure out a way to get it on barter. Now, in the world of barter, there are rules. I call them rules, but there are understandings. One of those is that if you're working at a barter exchange, you charge barter dollars. You're expected to charge barter dollars and not cash. However, there are certain expenses that you understandably need to charge cash for. For example, if you are renting out a condo on barter, well, after you're rented out, then it needs to be clean, and you can't pay your cleaning crew with barter dollars. So there's you pay for the place with barter dollars, and you pay an extra fee for cleaning. It's the same with if you went to a dentist or an eye doctor, they could do the exam probably on barter, but the supplies they would need to charge you cash for. If you're going to ship something, you can't get barter from the post office or UPS or FedEx, so you have to charge cash for those fees. But the rest of the cost of whatever you're selling should be in barter dollars if you're in the barter world. And you will see somebody have a house for sale, and they'll say it's $150,000, and I want half in cash and half in barter, and that sort of makes sense. But usually you want to charge 100% barter. Also, in the barter world, there's no price gouging. There's also no haggling. Barter is always done at full retail price, but you are expected to charge the same thing for your products or services in the barter world as you do in the non-barter world. And if you so you cannot advertise something on your website or in your store at one price and then on a barter website at another price. That's frowned upon, and if you're caught, you could probably be booted out of the barter club. So who uses barter? Well, individuals use barter every day, actually, without even thinking about it. I mean, just if you say, I'll drop the kids off at school today if you drop them off tomorrow, that's barter. That's swapping services. And my wife and her friends, we barter. We all garden, and we trade vegetables and fruits and things like that. And that's barter, but it's not barter in the sense that most people think of it. As far as the government is concerned, they expect you to report the value of anything that you barter, including with friends and neighbors, but most don't. Uh, but individuals do barter in the formal barter world too. For example, the barter club that I'm in has business members, and it has just individuals who sell their goods and services through the barter club. It's a business barter club, but you do not have to have a formal business license to be a member of that barter club. It's estimated that 75% of the Fortune 500 companies do barter. That tells you it's a very smart way of doing business. It's an extra profit center, and it's extremely powerful. Barter is for both for-profit businesses and nonprofit organizations. My barter club has lots of nonprofits in it. Shelters for battered wives or animals, or educational projects, or projects to build homes, or uh, support all kinds of causes. They're members of the Barter Club, and typically what they do is they join and then they request donations. And at certain times of the year, our members are extremely generous, and especially when they're looking at taxes, because if you're going to end up paying the government taxes, you may as well choose what you spend your money on, how you spend your money. And so if you give it to a nonprofit, that's a tax deduction. And so it makes sense to do that. And again, I'm not giving tax advice, but charitable contributions are tax deductible in most cases. Uh, Governments do a lot of barter. They call it foreign exchange or trade, but and a lot of governments have, or countries have, trade deficits, and they deal with a lot of countries where the currency is weak, and they can't trade their items for their currency with other countries, and so they barter. That's how companies like Pepsi got into Russia, for example. The Russian ruble was very weak, and Pepsi bartered for alcohol, and they brought a Russian brand of alcohol into the U.S. That was country to country. That wasn't government to government, but governments do it too. Many governments run deficits, and they pay off some of their bills by bartering their goods and services. So it's a multi-billion-dollar trade deal in most cases, and in some cases it's trillions of dollars. So yes, governments do barter, and practically all major media barter. When I say all major media, I'm talking all the big newspapers, major magazines, television stations, radio stations, both regular terrestrial television stations, online radio stations, and TV stations, cable, billboard companies, even social media. I noticed an email from my barter exchange not too long ago that shared that LinkedIn was offering some of their upgraded services. You can have a free LinkedIn account, but you can also upgrade your account. LinkedIn was offering that for barter credits or barter dollars, and so even social media is into the world of barter. And with media, you when you're reading a newspaper or a magazine, you don't or watching a TV commercial, you don't know whether that business paid cash for it or bartered for it because they treat the barter customer the exact same way they would a regular customer. They don't force them into special time slots or special sections of a newspaper or magazine. It's all in there. And in fact, some publications and on many networks, the majority of the advertising is on barter. Um, so you would never know that it's on barter. Now, media is what's often referred to as a perishable. A perishable is something that if you don't use it, you lose it. For example, you can't run uh, today's you can't run today's quarter page ad in a magazine tomorrow. It's gone at midnight. Same with a newspaper. Or a radio station. The radio station can offer a 15 or 30-second spot to the world of barter, or they can let the DJ just ramble on and on. So, but they lose that opportunity to make that money because if you don't use it today, you can't use today's good tomorrow. That's a perishable. And I've run ads in my local nickel or penny saver, what you want to call the little newspaper that is handed out for free. They are in the world of barter. Hotels, condos, timeshares, all those things are offered on barter because if you own a timeshare and you're not going to use it, why not either offer it through the timeshare club or offer it in the world of barter where uh, you at least get something in exchange for it. And with the hotels, condos, and timeshares, they typically will charge so many barter dollars plus a cleaning fee. And depending on the location, like you can get condos or timeshares or hotels in Mexico and all over Central and South America, all over the world really, and they charge barter dollars for those. Hotel rooms are another perishable. If you have a hotel and you don't fill that room today or tonight, you can't sell tonight's room tomorrow. You've lost the revenue from that room. So why not offer that room to members of a barter club? Because hotels are rarely, I mean, very rarely above 70% occupancy rate, and many are rarely above 50% occupancy rate. So they have a lot of empty rooms, and they are already paying for maid service and security and all those things. And so why not offer that room to someone in the barter world? With hotel rooms, I've gotten a lot on barter, and a lot of times if it's a really, really busy location, you have to, submit a form and they won't know if they're going to have the room available until, a week in advance or whatever. But when I've traveled to seminars and conferences, I've often stayed in hotel rooms that were paid for with barter dollars. And you were treated like any other guest at the hotel. No one even knows that you're not paying cash for it, that you're in fact paying for something that cost you a mere fraction of what you paid for it. Airlines actually do barter. You don't see that advertised a lot, but they do barter. And a lot of the barter that they do is them exchanging advertising with major media for cabins, for seats. And the major media can do whatever they want with the seats. A lot of like TV stations, radio stations have what they call a prize closet. You'll see a radio station running a contest where they're giving away all these fantastic prizes. Some of them you'll buy things like cars, and they'll give a free cruise trip because they got the trip for free from the cruise line, and in exchange for advertising on radio or television. That's how that works. In fact, that's how Carnival Cruise got off the ground. The owners of Carnival back in the day bought a used ship that was I call it a rust bucket. I mean, it was in good shape, but they fixed it up, and then they had to figure out how to fill the ship, and they exchanged cabins for advertising, for radio advertising. I think it was in like 100 different markets, and these stations ran ads for cruising, numerous times a day, and in exchange for that, they got to give away, run contests or whatever to give away cruise cabins, or they could use them for their employees or whatever. But that's how Carnival got off the ground and become the multi-billion-dollar company it is today. Um, See, but here you could give yourself an interest-free loan, and I'm going to get into that pretty deep because in the barter world, we often use what's called script, and I didn't misspell that. It's SCRIP, script. Script's nothing more than an IOU. It's like a gift certificate. It's just a piece of paper on which you've specified the terms and conditions for redeeming that piece of paper. And this is 100% legal. It's done every day. Think about any restaurant that sells uh, gift certificates. The restaurant issues the gift certificate. If a restaurant sells $10,000 worth of gift certificates in a given period, that's a $10,000 interest-free loan to that restaurant. And the restaurant can specify the conditions. They could say something like uh, alcohol and tips not included, and they can put something like no cash, no cash change given back. And so they issue, uh, sell $10,000 worth of these. They've got $10,000 worth of cash in hand that they can use to do whatever with. They have free use of that until the gift certificates redeem. So it's a free loan. It's an interest-free loan, and they don't have to pay it, not have to spend anything actually until it is redeemed. Okay. Think of Amex and traveler's checks. It's the same thing. Amex sells a traveler's check, and then they take that money and they plow it into short-term instruments. They're making money off of having sold the traveler's check, but then the traveler's checks are sometimes never even used. It's wild. In fact, like equity barter allows you to print your own money. It also allows you to, because it allows you to print your own money, it allows you to outspend your competitors. And I use the example here of doing a large internet marketing product launch, say one of these product launches where they're selling a product for, I don't know, thousands of dollars and paying 50% commission or whatever. I could run a quarter page ad in Entrepreneur Magazine or one in the Wall Street Journal or something like that and make a lot of sales. And I'd probably outsell any other affiliate. You can do the same thing with any product, not just the big product launches, but because you have the leverage of media and being able to pay for it with barter dollars, which is money you can quite literally spend out of thin air. I mean, think about if you just sold $20,000 worth of gift certificates or whatever, certificates for coaching that can be used in the future. So you sell the coaching at a whatever rate now, and you issue a certificate saying it's redeemable, at whatever time, at whatever time period. I'll get into that in a minute. And then you get the money now, and you can use that for whatever you want. So it's very, very powerful. Let's look at some barter terminology. I've already explained script, which is just an IOU where you specify the terms. Okay. Uh, Breakage is the fact that often parts of that script are not used, or sometimes not redeemed at all. You might sell somebody uh, $50 worth of gift certificates for your restaurant, and they may be $10 gift certificates or whatever, $20 gift certificates, and they give them to somebody else. Well, that person they give them to may move out of town and never use it. They may stick it in a drawer and never use it. Or when the individual goes to the restaurant and they've got a $30 gift certificate and they buy $25 worth of food, and on the certificate it says no cash given, no cash change given. Well, that extra $5 is breakage. It's money that the business basically gets to add to their bottom line. So it's very powerful. And in fact, quite often, as much as 70% of gift certificates are not redeemed, not used. I mean, people will give you a gift certificate for some books or Barnes and Nobles, whatever, and person either doesn't use it and let it expire, or they go in and they buy something and it costs less than the value, the face value of the gift certificate. I use quite a bit of script myself, actually. I buy quite a bit of script. For example, I'm a gardener, and there's a local garden center that's a member of ITEX. So I'll buy $200 or $300 worth of certificates through their broker, and they mail me these certificates to go to the store and turn them in. And it was because that's a managed account. That's why the broker mails me the certificate. But this on the certificate it says no change, no cash is given. So if I got a $150 certificate, if I don't buy $150 worth of supplies at that time, then I don't get the money back. But so that's breakage there. But I spend very little out of pocket to earn my barter dollars, as I'll explain as we get into this. And so it's it's okay with me. But I get all my landscaping supplies, my gardening supplies, things like that. A lot of it from this one nursery supply place. Dating, that's not going out with someone. That's when you issue script, you put on it when it expires. Now, the secret there, it's not a secret, but the key there is you should not make it so tight that the person feels compelled to use the certificate right away. If you give them a year or two, chances are they're going to take their time and maybe even not use the certificate. Um, Although at times most businesses want you to use a certificate. A pizzeria that issues a certificate, they want you to come in because they know when you come in to redeem that certificate, you're probably not going to come in by yourself, or a restaurant. You're not going to come in by yourself. You're going to bring someone else. And if you enjoy the experience, they'll be back. So they're gaining a customer. At the same time, when a business like that issues a certificate or some script, you have to spend it at their business. So they're selling you uh, what's like a traveler's check, except that you got to cash it at their business. So you got to come back and spend 100% of the money that you spent to buy it. You got to cash it in at their business. So the money comes back to them anyway. So it's a very powerful concept. It brings customers back, and they bring friends or whatever. Now, float is the time between when you issue the script or the gift certificate and when it's used. During that time, the business has use of the money anyway. So it's free use of money. It's a free loan. And, I mentioned Amex before. Somebody's going on American Express. Somebody's going on a trip and they buy $3,000 worth of American Express traveler's checks. While they're on the trip, Amex has invested that money in something and they're earning money off of it. And until those traveler's checks are redeemed, uh, they have free use of the money and they're making money on the money. And they make probably billions a year doing that. So it's extremely powerful. But that's float. It's use of the money until it has to be redeemed. And even after it's redeemed, if you do it right, you aren't paying as much for redeeming it as it sold for. For example, if you're on a restaurant, the cost of food is typically very low in many restaurants, and so a $10 gift certificate for some places serves breakfast, they may spend $2 on the supplies for that breakfast, And then when the person goes in to redeem a certificate, they're going to tip the waiter or waitress anyway. They'll feel guilty if they don't. Most people will anyway. So it's very powerful concept, script. Now, again, the terminology script is just an IOU. Breakage is part of the script that's not redeemed. And so it goes to the merchant's bottom line. Dating is when the item has to be redeemed by, and as the issuer of the script, decide when. Floats, in fact, you got to use the money until it's redeemed. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this that it's trading, barters, trading one good or service for a good or service of equal value. There's something that we refer to as ratio, which is where it's not always one-to-one because some items are more desirable than others. For example, many car dealers will have a car, perhaps it's not even, it's not selling. And so they think, why don't I trade it and trade it with a newspaper for some advertising? Well, that newspaper may give them 2 to 3 times the value of that car in advertising. And they can afford to do that because what's the newspaper doing? They're just adding another sheet of paper to the newspaper, and the car dealership's not getting the entire page typically, or they're getting one side of the sheet of paper. So it's costing the newspaper very little to add that extra. It's the same with a radio station. They run an ad for a car dealer again, or a DUI lawyer, and they get something in exchange for that. Typically, the media outlet is getting a lot more value if they did a one-for-one trade. So they would, maybe some car dealers might give them, some newspapers might give the car dealership 3 times the value of the car. That's the way that works. So ratio is not always 1 to 1. If one party has something more desirable than the others, then it's negotiable, and it's considered fair. Now, there's lots of different ways of doing barter. You can do one-on-one or direct barter. That's where you have something and you're offering it for trade to somebody else, and they have something that they're going to give you in exchange for it. Not cash, but one-on-one, one-to-one exchange. But if that person that has what you want doesn't have, if the person who has what you want doesn't want what you have, then you need to figure out a way to make that deal work, and offering is bringing in a third party. And maybe what you have, the third party was, and the third party has something that the person who has what you want has, and you work it out where everybody gets what they want. That's called triangulation. That's something that Jay Abraham used to talk about a lot. It's just figuring out a way to make the deal work by bringing in a third party. And the third way to do barter is on a formal barter exchange. There you've got thousands of people who are listing their merchandise or services for sale, and they're accepting barter dollars or credits, which are deposited to the barter exchange like a bank. And then the person who sold the good or service takes those barter dollars and buys something else on the exchange that someone else is offering. So if you've got thousands of people there, there's it's hard not to find something that you want. I mean, in my barter exchange, there's 25,000 plus members, and they offer all kinds of goods and services. I'm right now looking at buying land and or a house in a good location, and so I am earning lots of barter dollars, saving them up for that purpose, although I may use it for something else. But the barter exchange makes it easy to find barter partners. Now, to find a barter exchange, there are barter exchanges all over the world. I know the ones in the U.S. best, and in fact, I know ITEX, which is a leading barter exchange in the U.S., in the Western Hemisphere. I know it best. The ones outside the country, I don't know as well, so I'm going to cover them, but I'm going to ask you, if you're outside the country, to do the research. It's readily available on the internet, okay? And you could even get lazy and use something like Chat GPT or some AI to track it down for you. Okay, let's look at the U.S. exchanges first. One is called the International Monetary System, and it's one of the largest and most established exchanges in the U.S. It's a network for businesses to trade goods and services without using cash. And notice it says businesses. A lot of these exchanges, again, because they're sort of secretive, they don't want private citizens or individuals knowing about it, but they're there, and some will let you in, like ITEX, the one I'm in, will let you in if you have something that they think our members want. And next is ITEX. It is the largest exchange in North America with 25,000 plus members in the U.S. and Canada. I say North America, but it's U.S. and Canada only. Well, that is North America. The rest of America is South and Central. And we exchange goods and services with each other. So I'll be telling you more about ITEX mainly because that's the one I know best. I've been a member for, I don't know, 10 or 11 years now, I think. There's another one called BizX. It's a barter exchange with over 7,000 members, and it facilitates trade among its members using its own currency. It calls it BizX dollars. And so, again, it helps businesses to conserve cash and utilize excess capacity. And we'll look at that as I get into what you might want to offer in exchange for earning barter dollars. There's another one called the Southern Barter Club, and this is a network of 1,500 members operating out of the southern U.S. I haven't actually come across them, but I've noticed I'm here in Florida. But members trade goods and services using a digital currency called Southern Barter Dollars. There's a lot of barter organizations all over the world, and there's probably well over 100 in the United States. So you can find one if you just look for them. There's another one called Trade Back, where businesses offer the ability to trade goods and services. Now, I have seen this. I've seen this one and I've read about it because a lot of people look for a way to use their excess ability to deliver services. So they want to build credits there. And a lot of people in Trade Bank use that service aspect more so than the goods aspect. And it sells across various industries. And there's the National Association of Trade Exchanges. And this is an organization that's not technically a barter club itself. What it does is it facilitates networking between barter clubs. It encourages the clubs to work together and do trade. Now let's look at non-U.S. Barter exchanges, and I'll start with sharing a little known fact, which is that exchanges can reach across to other exchanges. The people who operate the barter exchanges, they earn their money by getting typically a commission or fee that they charge for facilitating the barter trade. When more than one exchange is involved, then they split the fee. So, for example, a U.S.-based barter exchange, if they have the right relationships, may be able to get me a hotel room in Australia or Thailand or the UK because these barter exchanges are members of groups that work together, and some have these relationships and some don't. But it is possible for me if I wanted a hotel room or I don't know a rental car or a chauffeured limousine in the UK, I could get that via barter using my barter credits here in the US. Most people don't know that though. They don't think that they can use their barter dollars outside of their home country or area. Now, there is the International Reciprocal Trade Association, which is a nonprofit organization that serves as the global voice for commercial barter. And so they provide resources support for member organizations around the world. And a lot of barter organizations, I'm pretty sure ITEX is a member of IRTA. So they facilitate trade. They grease the wheel. There's Barter Card. It's a global trade exchange that enables businesses to trade goods and services using a digital currency called trade dollars. They've got over 24,000 members in 8 countries. Don't ask me off the top of my head what those 8 countries are. I'll ask you to look that up. And I may look it up later and add a handout or in the download area for that. But I didn't look it up recently, but it's in 8 countries though. There's a Trade Bank International. It's a business-to-business barter network with over 10,000 members in 14 countries. So I made research and confirm which of those 14 countries is in. I haven't done that yet either. But members trade goods and services through a platform that uses a digital currency called trade credits. And all these platforms are computer programs, basically. And almost anyone could probably start a barter exchange if they wanted to. And in fact, I had a friend who did try to start one, but he got a lot of pushback. And the reason he tried to start one is because when you sell something barter for barter dollars, that barter currency stays within the system. And then people buy and sell and buy and sell those barter dollars. The barter dollars stay within the system. And every time somebody buys or sells and they pay a fee, it's money going into the system. And anytime they add their goods, it's more money being added to the system. And anytime someone buys something, it's more money being added to the system. So but running a barter exchange is a pretty powerful concept. There's the IMS, which I mentioned earlier when I was talking about U.S. barter exchanges, but IMS actually operates in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. And again, members can exchange goods and services for a digital currency called trade dollars. Uh, there's B21, which is a UK-based barter network that operates online. Members can trade goods and services using a digital currency called trade pounds, which makes sense because pounds is the currency in the UK. And there's Swiss barter. Swiss barter is a barter network based in Switzerland with over 2,500 members. Members can trade goods and services using a digital currency called Swiss barter francs. So they're using the French currency. And above are just a few examples of barter clubs and organizations that operate in different parts of the world. It's important for you to research and compare options to find the best fit for your business and trading needs. You know, like I said, there's probably over 100 barter exchanges in the U.S. alone. And so you should do your due diligence. But I did, and iTex to me was the most logical choice, largely because they have the most members, and so there's the most opportunity to find something that I want on that exchange. Each barter club has their own criteria for memberships, rules, and all those things. You know, they charge different fees. They have when you join or before you join, you can read their rules and all those things. But they mostly say, you know, that you won't try to circumvent the system and all those things, and that you won't inflate your prices. The things I mentioned earlier. This is just a statement. It says it's easy to get millions of dollars worth of advertising, and it's often offered at discount rates via special offers via relationship between the media and the barter organization. Now, like I mentioned, I'm in iTex. I get email bulletins or notifications from the office that I joined iTex through daily. And sometimes they'll say Wall Street Journal is running a special, you know, and then they'll list the special. And something like the Wall Street Journal or New York Times, they typically will offer advertising in specific geographic regions, you know, maybe 4 or 5 states or one state or one part of the country or whatever. And then they'll quote, they have a standard rate, and this major media is expensive. Okay, it is expensive. And yet, you know, if you've got $100,000, you may want to buy something in a major media for, you know, an insertion that runs for 6 or 12 times or whatever, but it is available. And they do offer specials through exchanges like iTex from time to time. I don't know, Entrepreneur Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times. I've seen all of those, and lots of newspapers and regional publications. We have a searchable database where you can actually look through it and see some things are offered all the time, and then other things are just specials. But it's quite literally millions of dollars worth of advertising that's offered, and often it's offered through the exchange or clubs for much less than it's offered to the general public, because they are at times just trying to fill out their schedule, or they've got a last minute opening somewhere. And so they'll push it out to the barter clubs who can let their members know fairly quickly. Now, I have posted a lot of times that barter often offers much more leverage than cash. Uh, One of the reasons is when you borrow in the cash world, you're paying interest, right? And the longer you take to pay, typically the more interest you pay. Um, and in the barter world, when you borrow, and you borrow typically by issuing script, you know, selling gift certificates, selling certificates good for redeeming whatever it is that you sell, uh, that's interest free. You just created a piece of paper that said, pay me $3,000 and you can go through my training and whatever, and it's good for the next year. Uh, that's a $3,000 interest free loan until it's redeemed. And uh, if you, um, you, the purchaser uh, doesn't pay any extra interest if they take longer, or the seller, if they take longer to redeem it. You know, so it's like an interest-free loan. I don't think I expressed that quite eloquently enough, but you don't pay a penalty for taking longer to repay your obligation. And sometimes you don't pay any interest at all. And sometimes you don't even have to repay the obligation because of breakage. Okay? Because a lot of gift certificates and things like that are never redeemed. So, what is the most valuable asset that most businesses need? Well, it's advertising, something that I already mentioned over and over again. And every business needs advertising, because if the business that doesn't advertise is going to eventually go out of business. So even if it's word of mouth advertising, somebody has to tell them about that business, that service. And so in the barter world, advertising is one of the most plentiful products. You know, newspapers, magazines, billboards, television, radio, even little signs and tents in restaurants and in malls and things like that. All those things are available in the barter world. The electronic billboard, all that stuff's available in the barter world. And so you can, first of all, create money out of thin air by selling your good or service, especially when you sell the types of goods and services that I sell, which are mostly digital. Uh, I sell mostly electrons, so there's no cost for me to ship them. And so when I sell a digital product, like a course I create or something like that, I am quite literally uh, spending money out of thin air. I'm selling electrons. Think about it. That's why I like selling digital products. And then to turn around and use that money from selling electrons to buy advertising, um, or to buy something physical, something tangible in the physical world, is pretty powerful. So my point, big point in this training is to get you to realize you're much richer than you think you are. You have a ton of hidden assets in your business and indeed in your personal life that you can use to buy all kinds of goods and services at bargain prices. It's just a matter of adjusting your thinking a little. You need to think outside the box when considering things of value that you own and can bring to the table to earn barter dollars, which then enable you to buy other goods and services that you can use in your business or personal life. Again, if you're going to use them in your personal life, you need an accounting for those barter dollars to separate that somehow from your business life for tax purposes, because it is going to be reported via the barter exchange. Okay. Now, some examples of things that I sell to earn barter dollars, or things that you might consider selling. Okay. When I first took training under Vegas vets, he was teaching in the course. First thing he taught people was you just need to get used to buying and selling. So you need something to sell. He said, go through your house and just look for old stuff you no longer need. And I retired from the military 20 years ago. And I had all kinds of military gear, mostly clothing. Uh, I spent a tour in Alaska where they gave me cold weather gear, and I spent a tour in Hawaii and in the Philippines and in Japan. And so I had all this gear. And in the military, when you retire or leave a unit, a lot of times they don't want the gear back. It's, I guess, somehow unsanitary. So I got to keep my winter parker and my cold weather gear, extra thick boots and all those things that were designed for walking on ice and trekking through the frozen Arctic tundra. And I sold a lot of that stuff, and to make money. I no longer need it here in Florida. Okay, so and you can go to yard sales or estate sales. There's a dozen yard sales within 5 miles of me every weekend. And people who found out to me, I've often said yard sales are the dumbest thing in the world because people will have things that are brand new that they no longer need, and they'll sell them for nothing. I mean, I watched one friend who ran a yard sale, and some lady walks up to her, and she has a brand new dress she's never worn, and she's out outgrown it. And the person who walks up says, "Will you take a quarter for that dress?" And she's like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Are you crazy?" So that dress probably cost her $100, and she sold it for a quarter. So you can pick up a lot of good bargains at yard sales or estate sales. At these sales, people often either don't think about what something's worth, or they haven't done their research, or they don't think they can get it. I have gone to some where people did know the value of what they were selling them. So it's, hit and miss. But I've bought a lot of stuff, good stuff, from yard sales, and sold some of it on eBay and sold some of it on iTex. You can also purchase items from a liquidator. There used to be a liquidator in my hometown who, he got stuff that was either last year's model, or it was intended for one business that was no longer interested in it or whatever. So the liquidator got it for pennies on the dollar. And I bought large screen televisions and patio equipment and all kinds of things like that from that liquidator. In fact, I took my wife into his store right before Christmas one year and told her to pick out some gifts. And she said, "How much can I spend?" I said, "I don't care." I had like $10,000 in barter dollars just sitting around. And so she bought a lot of gifts for friends and relatives. Uh, Now, you can go to liquidation.com. That's one of dozens of liquidators I know online. And you can buy stuff from them by a box or a crate or a truckload. And they've got all kinds of things at liquidation prices, at really, really cheap prices. You can shop online and have it shipped to you. You can have a tractor trailer load of stuff shipped to you if you want, or you can have just a box full of whatever you need for your personal use or to sell. And I'm focusing on selling. Uh, Access to membership sites and recorded training. I sell a lot of that. I mean, a lot. I'll show you in another slide. You can sell advertising on your websites, blogs, or YouTube channel. I mean, businesses need to advertise, and if you're in front of the right prospect, and like with iTex, I could list, uh, do a listing that says, I'll run your advertisement on my YouTube channel. It's on this topic, and this is what I want for it. And I'm certain that I could sell advertising and get barter dollars, but I'm more interested in hard currency for that right now. Uh, and you can do the same thing, run banner ads on your websites or blogs. If you've got the traffic, people are willing to pay for it. Same with easy or newsletter advertising. Uh, People are willing to pay for it, especially if it delivers results. So you have more, if you've got a blog or a website or a YouTube channel, you have an asset that can generate revenue for you, and it can generate barter dollars, but could also probably generate hard currency for you. Uh, you could sell SEO services. Um, I don't do SEO much anymore. I do lead generation. I mentioned earlier on one of the slides that I now build and rent lead generation websites, and I also do a course on how to rank and rent websites. So I do sell leads, and I do quite well with that. You can sell transcription or translation services. Um, I have several books that I wrote and had translated into other languages like Spanish and French. You can sell recorded training. I sell a lot of recorded training, but recorded training twice. You can sell your underused or unused capacity. Whatever you do, whether you're good at data entry or proofreading or bookkeeping or accounting or editing, or you have a great voice and you can do voiceovers for people. Maybe you market to someone who's not comfortable with their English or whatever. They think their accent makes them hard to understand. You can sell that voiceover service. Uh, you can sell items that you have resale rights to. Think of the barter world as like an island where everything that's used on an island has to be brought in from outside. That's you selling your goods and services to others who live on an island, which is other Barter Club members. So anything that you have, well, what I'm getting there is I'm in the internet marketing space where there are all kinds of resale rights and private label rights products. You could take those and sell them in the barter world. There's absolutely, positively nothing wrong with that. You should not charge more than you charge in the on your website though for it, but you decide what the value is or what you're going to offer it for. So, you know, I prefer selling my digital products in the barter world. Okay, you can sell collectibles. You know, people collect everything imaginable. I mean, some of you will remember the Beanie Baby craze, things like that, but people just like collecting. I've gone to yard sales where people would point out different models of dolls or whatever, and they had a huge collection of something, you know. So people collect, and you can sell those collectibles in the barter world. And you can buy them at yard sales if you know what you're looking for, and then turn around and sell them for much more than what many, many times what they're going for at yard sales. You can sell jewelry. With jewelry, you want to get an appraisal, so you can say it's certified, and you can provide the documentation, and you'll get a better price. On the flip side, I would not buy a diamond or something off barter unless it was certified, appraised and certified. Because you don't know what you're getting otherwise. You can sell coaching live or recorded. I sell a lot of recorded coaching. I haven't offered live coaching on Bill Barter yet because I don't do a lot of live coaching. You could sell introductions, and that sounds sort of uh, slimy, but it's not. In that I do it as a joint venture broker, where my job is to go out, introduce people to other people who have products or services that they're launching, and I introduce them to potential affiliates who will resell their product. You know, that point you can sell your reputation. People. If you have a big name or you're famous or whatever, people will pay just to be associated with you. So that is your reputation. You could sell advertising your podcast. I mentioned that, but you could also charge to be a guest on a podcast. I know people who run podcasts who do charge their guests because the podcast is that popular. But you've got to build up an in-demand podcast for something like that. But it's you can barter anything. That's my point there. You can use your social media channel to offer exposure to others. There are celebrities who charge. There are websites where celebrities charge for shout outs, just for them to mention you on Twitter or whatever, LinkedIn or Instagram. They charge for that. You can charge for offering businesses exposure, sell them advertising sell a banner on your Facebook page or your group or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. And you can do it in the barter world. You can also do it in the cash world. Um, you can barter for equity in a company. I own shares in a silver mine. And the way I got that was the people, when they're trying to get things rolling, they said, we need some advice and help with certain things. And we'll give you, $10,000 worth of shares in the silver mine before we start digging. And I said, okay. So I own shares in the silver mine that's in operation now. And if they strike silver or gold, all it cost me was a little advice, a little of my time. It was a barter deal though, but that was direct barter. Um, you can offer social media account management on the barter exchange. A lot of business owners do not have the time or don't think they understand social media, and so they'll pay you to manage their account. And often social media account management involves nothing more than, there are people who advertise, I'll make one post a week or two posts a month, and then let's lay out a plan. I'll do X number of posts on this platform this often, and that's all they're doing, and that's called social media account management. So you could do that. Uh, I mentioned you could barter social media upgrades, and that LinkedIn recently ran a special with iTex for upgrades paid for with barter, and I don't know what they got barter dollars from iTex, so they must use it for something else. So, in looking for what you can offer to earn barter dollars, you just need to inventory. Think about what is that you own that people would be willing to pay for, and just do some brainstorming. Just think it over. Uh, and don't overlook the fact that artificial intelligence and many software programs that many of you, especially the people who are on the internet a lot and in the space where they're constantly selling new software and all those things, that there's tools out there that'll make doing these jobs that frustrate brick and mortar owners, you can do them very, very easily using the tools and technology. See, a person running a brick and mortar store is often feels they're too busy to learn these things. They're worried about employees stealing from them and not showing up for work, vendors stealing from them, and shoplifters, and being sued, and they're worried about all the problems the brick and mortar business owner has to worry about in running their business. Making payroll and paying the rent and all those things. So they don't typically have time to learn the internet-based technologies that in depth. And so you can take an AI tool, and do something. If you're selling content, articles, whatever, you could use something as simple as Chat GPT and just give it a good prompt, and it'll spit out an article for you in a minute. That you might want to edit, but creating content is that easy these days. Now, I was going to take you on a tour inside of iTex, but instead I just elected to. We have a marketplace there that lists people who are members list what items they want to sell, and they list them in different categories. And so these are the categories within the iTex database that any member can comb through and find things. So the first category is recent marketplace ads. Those are ads that members place within the last week or so. And so whenever you go to or a member and you list something there, it'll show up there first. And a lot of members, when they first log into the site, that's the first place they sift through looking for bargains, looking for something unusual. And then the other categories go through accommodation and travel. That's hotel, motel rooms. There's limousine services offered in some cities on iTex, where they'll send a driver to pick up at the airport, the hotel, and take you wherever you need to be. Advertising, I've already mentioned. There's animals and agriculture. People do sell animals, and they sell all kinds of agricultural products, from plant foods and fertilizer to you name it. Art and antiques. Art's big. Artists, a lot of artists that I've never heard of. Or I look at some of the paintings and I think, it looks like a third grader drew it, but those things go for big money, especially if it's unusual, automotive, all kinds of automotive parts, automotive services, mechanical services and things like that. A lot of those are from iTex. Business products, you name it. Everything from copiers and printing to services, computer security services, all kinds of stuff like that. If you could think of it, it's probably there. Charities, the charities are typically soliciting gifts, uh, clothing, all kinds of new and used clothing. In the barter world, instead of saying used, they say vintage, but that means used. And so you'll see all kinds of stuff uh, from the 1920s up through today, offered on iTex. My clothier, there's a guy in Baltimore who does custom clothing, and he's listed on iTex, and then I can get everything custom made that I need, or I can get off the rack stuff. But he sells it on iTex. Uh, Computer services, I've already mentioned, computer repair. Some people sell used computer equipment. If you're thinking about buying that, I caution you because if you buy some of the older stuff, and I bought two used older computers, and the problem was um, the operating systems were outdated, and the manufacturers were no longer updating those operating systems, and so you could not use could I could not run certain software on it. So it was, even though the computer cost me very little, it was a bargain, except for the postage, but it was useless to me for what I do. I mean, I need something really high speed that runs the latest software. So that's a word of caution there. All kinds of cosmetics and makeup. If any caution there is, make sure it's safe. All kinds of education. A lot of people. I've taken a course on how to play blackjack and things like that. Purchased off iTex. Entertainment. Everything from people showing up at parties to all kinds of magic shows and things like that. Food and beverages, lots of restaurants and catering services advertised there, from all over the country, and a lot of them have takeout services, and there's some within 5 miles of where I live. So there's a lot of iTex members offering food and beverages and restaurant services, furniture and fittings. I don't know what a fitting is, but I purchased furniture off of iTex before, especially my outdoor patio furniture. Uh, Health and medical, all kinds of like chiropractic services, estheticians, um, masseuse. I've seen a lot of that. I've seen different types of exams and treatments on iTex. Dental work, including even things like dental implants. Not a lot of that. In fact, I was looking at some dental work, and the dentist was on the West Coast, and I'm on the East Coast. So, yeah, industrial and manufacturing, you name it, it's there. All kinds of equipment, jewelry, more jewelry than you can imagine. Uh, and again, in iTex, we offer stuff at full retail. So but we don't gouge each other. So, it's there. Legal services, paralegal services. I've had several LLCs formed and other things like that. And I just reached out to the iTex member and said, here, do the paperwork file for me, even though I could have done it myself. It was so inexpensive and convenient. Marine and aviation, I've seen uh, boats for sale, marinas, rent space, all kinds of things like that. Marine, and I've seen flight lessons offered, including here in Florida. In fact, I've thought about taking some more lessons and upgrading my certifications. But the flight school's a little far away from me. Personal care and services, printing and stationery, um, real estate and construction, all kinds of uh, refurbishing projects, and a lot of stuff like that. Sometimes it's uh, iTex plus the cost of supplies. Other time it's not. So you can get a lot of things done. If you need your office building or house completely renovated, you can probably find somebody on iTex who will do it for you at a reasonable price. Repairs and maintenance on whatever. Retail and shopping, safety and security, alarm systems, monitoring of your house and business, all those things are there. It's all kinds of safety equipment, um, cameras and spotlights and all that stuff. Sports and recreation, I've seen tickets to all kinds of sporting events. I've seen access to sporting and recreation venues. That's all there. Telecommunications, you name it, it's there. Transportation, everything from limousine service to, um, I think I've seen flights offered in some places. You name it, it's there. Okay. iTex and other exchanges have searchable databases. So you can join most of them and look around, and there's no hard feelings if you don't stay. For example, iTex, you join and you don't get, you aren't billed right away. After 30 days, they'll bill you, and then if you don't pay it in 60 days or whatever, then they'll probably shut off your account. But otherwise, you can look around and make sure that it's a fit for you. But I'm only speaking for iTex because I haven't been a member of any other barter exchange. I know people who are members. I know people who are members of several, uh, and some have been members 25 to 40 years or more. So, but anyway, you can join and look around. Uh, some exchanges, including iTex, has what's called a broker managed account. A broker managed account is where the person who joined didn't have time to deal with the hassle um, of finding customers or clients. So they turned it to iTex and said, maybe you have a dentist who says, well, I can take an extra 3 patients a month. So they say to iTex, the broker, send me no more than 3 patients a month. So when you search through the iTex database, you won't find that person's listing because they don't want to be inundated with calls or whatever. So you could ask the broker, can you find me a dentist or a lawyer or whatever in this location or in this, give them your zip code and say, can you find me somebody within 100 miles or whatever? And they could find that. Some broker managed accounts, like I mentioned, the garden supply place that I use, that's a broker managed account. They've said to their iTex broker, once a quarter sell this many certificates, and so I email or contact their broker and say, can I get $300 worth of certificates or whatever the maximum amount is, and they do that, and so these brokers work for the barter company, and they get paid to facilitate and encourage trade. Like the more trade they encourage, the more transactions there are, the more commissions they'll earn. So it's their job to help you out. And in fact, I have a friend who told me that his iTex broker, reached out to him by email and said, what do you want to, what do you have that you want to sell? Because he hadn't listed any products yet. And they brainstormed, and he has several products that he basically has a license to resell. It's a service, and or service or a product. And so he and I discussed, listing those products and services. And since I'm very experienced, since I've been a member of iTex for, I don't know, like I said, over a decade, probably close to 12 years, I know what sells, and I'm also a masterful copywriter. So, you know, my thing with him was, you need to make your listing sound enticing. You need to point out the benefits and all those things. So when he describes what it is, I'm like, so what does it do? What is the benefit? And so um, they will encourage you to use your account, and I make lots of money from what I do. Um, in fact, it says this next picture will show some of the 60 or 70 things that I recently had listed in the searchable iText database. Not all those things are listed anymore, and this is just a screenshot. This these are my active ads at the time, but that was way back in February, I think. So I listed, there's a title, there's the price, and there's when it expires. When you list something in iText right now, I think it automatically expires after 60 days unless you specify a different date. So like right here, I put learn the secrets of renting virtual real estate. This is my course on how to rank and then rent websites. And at the time I was selling it for $19.97. And I put that I'm offering 10 people access to this course. You can put whatever number you want because this is digital. I could have put a lot more, but when you show a limited number, well, it looks like the supply is limited, and so people are more likely to buy. If I would put 100, because it's digital, all people are going to do is log in and go through the training. I could have put 100, but then that would look like, well, that's not very enticing. So I put 10 at $19.97, and that ad expired April 10th, but that was April 10th, 2023. Oh, this is a really old picture. This is a vintage Buzz Lightyear watch I bought this at a yard sale for like $10. I went online on eBay and used their tool to determine the value, and there were similar watches selling for around $280 to $300. So I listed mine at 280. Uh, this was a Super Bowl special I was running, and so I listed it whenever, but it was only good through the Super Bowl. And I said, this was to write a short form sales letter, and I wanted $8,500. These business owners, some of them are paying 20, 30, $40,000 for a good sales letter that performs. I've been writing copy since I was 14, and now I'm 65, so I know how to write copy. And I use software I plug in a bunch of variables, answer a bunch of questions, basically, that I get the answers for from my clients. Then I plug that into the software, and it gives me a rough draft, and then I refine it using my knowledge of uh, psychology and persuasion and all those things, and the proper order and the flow of a sales letter. And so for that $8,500, I could probably write a short form sales letter. I mean, write it and then revise it several times in, I don't know, 20 hours. I'd have something that I was satisfied with. 20 hours for $8,500, and that's a good deal to me. And this is 10 profitable automated membership sites. I have a license that lets me sell as many of these membership sites as I want, and the standard price is $9.97, but my license allows me to discount it uh, if I want to. But again, the market price is $9.97. That's what the license says it's a recommended price, but I can sell it whatever I want. I just can't. The idea is not to cheapen the value of the product and destroy the market. So I was offering 10 of those at $9.97. Well, this is a license I have. So whenever somebody purchases this, all I do is go into a control panel and set them up on the system. And it's hands off. This was a project I did where I was showing how you could turn $100 into $100,000, basically by starting with $100 of gardening supplies, and then by the end of a year or season, having sold plants uh, for $100,000 by just turning it up over and over again. And I charge people $25 to watch me, receive an email regularly, updating them on how the project was going. That's all it was. But, and I said I'll let 200 people uh, at $25 iText. I also sold this in the brick and mortar world for $25. This was just a cookbook. I have a friend who wrote a cookbook, and uh, he gave me extra copies. And I thought, well, I don't need but one copy, so I sold the others. This is the I do. I mentioned I do lead generate. I teach lead generation websites, which is the first listing, top listing, and I rent lead generation websites. So this custom lead generation websites listing at the bottom, I said I'm offering 10 clients these websites at $1,000 per month rent. In the listing, I put that if they pay for 10 months, they get 2 months free. So for $10,000, they rent a lead generation website from me, which once I've built the website and has it ranked in the search engines, it's going to generate a steady flow of traffic for them. But it's a digital asset. And so once I build it and get it ranked, then it's minimal work for me to keep it ranked and generating a steady flow of traffic. Now, with that product, that project, it's also a matter of setting expectations. I have one client who's what is he? He's an accountant who deals with very high value customers. And he said to me, if your site just brings me one new client a month, I'd be happy. He would say, I'll be happy. And I thought, okay, I can bring you one new client a month. And so this was an easy sale. These business owners in iText, they want more leads. Everybody wants more leads. That's why advertising is selling so well. But they don't want advertising per se. They don't want a lead generation website. They want customers. And so if you can deliver those, uh, you'll make sales, and it's easy. Now, because I'm selling these expensive products like the 1997 training, which is pre-recorded, uh, I build up a lot of money in my account, a lot of barter credits. So cash converting is turning that barter currency, those barter dollars, into money you can spend in the cash world. And you may or may not be able to spend all those barter dollars in the barter world. I actually can, because again, I want to buy expensive things like houses and land and cars and um, boats. And I see all those cars, major media. If I'm going to buy a magazine ad, it's going to be maybe a full page ad. Artwork, if it gets my attention, uh, and jewelry, I'm not into jewelry. My wife is, but she has it now. Uh, but these things are all offered on iTex, so it is possible to earn a lot of iTex currency and then spend it in the iTex marketplace. However, uh, to cash convert a large amount of barter dollars, you could do something like cash converting is taking something out of the barter world and selling it in the brick and mortar world, basically. So I could buy raw land or house and on barter and then sell it in the brick and mortar world. And there, the thing that's critical is location. There are lots of plots, building plots being offered in subdivisions near popular attractions. I mean, there's whether it's in the mountains somewhere or it's near a beach area or some famous golf resort or ski resort. There's a lot of new subdevelopments out there, and the developer often needs cash flow. And so they will offer some of these in the barter world, and often the brick and mortar world too, at discount prices before the project, before they allow the project to bog down. So I've seen lots and lots and lots of land for sale, building plots, and I've thought about buying them, because they aren't making any more land. But it's got to be in the right location, and so I'm again thinking about buying a house, another house, and so I'm saving my barter dollars for that. But if something else comes along that grabs my attention, I may do that. And again, I may buy it to cash convert, buy it in the barter world, sell it in the brick and mortar world for dollars. Although again, barter currency often has more leverage than dollars. So barter can be used to pay for practically anything, okay? Auto repairs, construction, like I showed, landscaping, dentistry, flight lessons, virtual assistant services. Uh, a lot of items are offered that you look at them and you go, well, I don't need that, but I could use that as an incentive, maybe a banquet or something, or uh, restaurant gift certificates or something like that, or jewelry or whatever. You can use those as employee incentives or as bonuses or Christmas gifts or whatever. And I've seen cosmetic surgery offered, all kinds of legal and paralegal services, consulting. I've seen people offer, very high price consulting on iTex, So it's offered on barter, and so these are things that you can sell. Now, the best product for many people to offer are products where the tangible value is subjective, such as art. I mean, you look at a piece of art and it may be worth a certain amount to one person and worth nothing to another person. But if you can look at the appraised value too, collectibles are hot, rare items, nostalgic or vintage items. I mean, a little doll of whatever could be worth a lot. And so, if it's something out of the ordinary, uh, people tend to want it. And again, people are collectors. And so you just, and you can pick these things up fairly inexpensively and then offer them on the iTex or in the barter world in general. Now, the worst products to sell are products that people can buy in the regular store down the street, such as books or whatever. I mean, somebody looks at a paperback and go, "Oh, that's worth $5 or whatever," Uh, or just regular street clothing. I mean, if it's designer clothing or it's vintage, and it's something that is from a certain era or whatever, then it is perceived as being worth more. It is worth more to a potential buyer. Uh, Something that's heavy or difficult to ship, I wouldn't recommend listing because the shipping costs are going to destroy you. Now what a lot of people do is they list something on Barter and say you have to pick it up at a certain location. So that's fine. I mean, I'm a member of Barter Exchange that's based out of the franchise. It's in my slide. It's based out of New Jersey, and so a lot of stuff is actually dropped off there. But there's also local merchants near me that are listed in the database too, and some of them run sales, like there's furniture stores that run sales that are just for Barter Club members, and so it's interesting. Um, this slide says how Barter has saved many multi-million-dollar companies. I've looked at a lot of case studies. One talked about an automobile manufacturer who had like 1,000 cars sitting on a parking lot across the factory, and they weren't selling, and they were just sitting there and depreciating. And that person offered those cars, the model that wasn't selling, in the world of barter, and used the money from the barter world to purchase advertising to advertise models that were selling better, and that pulled that company out of a crisis. So, and then I read another case study about a hotel that was about 50% occupancy, I guess it was, and so somebody stepped in and said, "I'll exchange advertising for the right to use X number of rooms in the hotel." So they bartered hotel rooms in a nice location, actually. It was in Vegas, but it was off the strip for X number of dollars in advertising, and they used the advertising dollar, the hotel, to fill the other rooms. So it was an equal trade, but they could have also used it for repairs and things like that too. So you can see the barter world is powerful. Barter always flourishes in a down or troubled economy too. The cash isn't always king or even available. Think about the Great Depression. People didn't have money. A lot of people didn't have any money, but some poor dirt farmer would go in and trade a couple dozen eggs for uh, other supplies that he needed at the grocery store or a general merchandise store. And back then, people often kept books. It's like, okay, I'll sell you, hunting supplies or whatever, farming supplies, and you pay me when you can, and they write it down on the book. So that those were IOUs basically, and barter was really big during the Great Depression. And then right after World War II, you had all these soldiers returning, and there were not enough jobs for them. So we had an economic downturn there. Whenever the Feds tighten interest rates, or whenever the housing or other markets take a downturn, um, barter picks up. Right now, the Feds are looking at not loosening the interest rates, and so that makes money difficult for many businesses to get. So many of them will have to lean more on barter, figure out what do I have within my business that I can use to get what I need to keep my business running. That's what barter does. If housing is at one time, not too long ago, building supplies went way, way up. And so builders and people that wanted to build a house had to figure out some way around that problem. And some of them turned to barter. So I'm about ready to close this out. So what I'm going to do is I want to tell you how to join the largest barter club in North America, which is ITEX, with me vetting you. Basically, um, I can only do this for people in the U.S. or Canada because ITEX only serves members in U.S. and Canada. This is John Castoro. He's the president and chief engineering officer for ITEX New Jersey, which expanded and at first I think it was just New Jersey. Now he's in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and as far down south as Virginia. He is the top franchisee in North America for 30 years. And he is a friend. And I mentioned when Vince was doing his barter arbitrage training, he got his students into ITEX by knowing a broker, and that person greased the skids. So I'm doing the same thing with John. I mean, actually, most ITEX members could probably go into the ITEX site, fill out a form, and nominate somebody, but I know John well enough to know his new bride and a lot of things about him. We've talked a lot about business. And I've even pointed out mistakes to him on some of his literature because I'm a compulsive proofreader. So anyway, to request that I invite you into ITEX, if you are from the U.S. and Canada, I need your first name and last name, your company name if you have one. If you don't have a company name, you can just use your own name because, again, we accept individuals provided they have something to offer the other members, something of value. So you can use your own personal name and for a company name. You can use a company or personal address, and you can use a company or personal phone number. Now, when you get the phone number, John we'll try to set up a call to discuss with you what you might want to offer our members on ITEX. It's not required, but he'll offer that. So, you know, it, you can take it or leave it, but he knows what the members need and want, and he knows what sells. He's been doing this 30 years. This form just shows the same thing. This is a form that's inside our member site. So I would just log in, enter your first name, your last name, your company name. If you didn't have a company name, I'd enter your name, email, phone number. I click invite referral, and the system automatically kicks out an email inviting you because it's from me, a trusted member whose best interest is in to only invite other members who will be good for the organization. So with that information, I can invite practically any for-profit or nonprofit business in the U.S. or Canada into the membership, and I've invited quite a few, including several nonprofits dedicated to feeding the hungry and taking care of people with mental issues and things like that. So a member inviting another member is a strong recommendation among our members because we want to keep our organization running smooth. It's our house, our backyard. So you can email that information to me if you want to, at willie.crawford@gmail.com. If you email it to me, please use the subject line interested in ITEX membership. That keeps it from getting lost in all the other email I get regularly. Alternatively, you can submit a support ticket using the link inside the download area or the membership area of the where you found this recording. And that actually is better because it's less likely to get lost in the jumble of email, and it also the system, my help desk system, consistently delivers email. It gets through, whereas other email might hit a spam filter or something. So the help desk is probably better than a direct email, but either way, it doesn't matter. The cost of joining barter clubs varies, but it's usually some combination of a monthly fee and a per transaction fee. Some probably just charge a per transaction fee, but it's higher than whatever. And some may just charge them a membership fee. I don't know. I haven't checked all the barter clubs out. I know that ITEX came highly recommended, and the cost for joining ITEX is $20 in cash each month, plus $10 in ITEX each month. I don't know why they did that, but I guess it's to make sure that you're doing business in ITEX, so you have some ITEX dollars on hand. Otherwise, you can't pay you $10 ITEX. Uh, Plus, there's a 6% per transaction fee to either buy or sell an item. And those fees pay for the salaries and the infrastructure. Think of it like a bank service charge. Some banks charge service charges. But uh, feel free to use your trade director if you do join. I've reached out to my trade director and said, I need an upright freezer with this capacity, and I need this and I need that. And can you find those items for me? And she came back and said, yeah, and she did. And I also gave her my zip code, so she had to, And if I said I need uh, a podiatrist, and she could look in the database probably for people who have managed accounts. That doesn't show in the front-facing database that regular members can see, but the broker managed accounts do show to other brokers, regardless of where the other broker is located in the country. And so she could find me a podiatrist near my zip code, and send me a printout, So the fees to me are worth it. And that's it for today, but I encourage you to ask me questions, okay? And the best way to submit those is probably via the help desk. So again, the link is in the membership area. Uh, and again, those emails coming from the help desk don't hit spam filters. So just feel free to ask me any question, because that will help me to improve future versions of the course. And also feel free to suggest ways that you think I can make this training better. I'm open to suggestions. I won't be offended if you say, you could have made it better by doing this or including that, and I will consider that, because when you registered, you registered with your name and your email address, and as long as you don't unsubscribe from that list, which is only used to keep in touch with you about this training, it's not used to try to sell you any other goods or services. As long as you stay subscribed to that list, you'll get updates. And so if I update the training and you haven't been to the site in, a year, you can still log back in and access that update training. If I add something, add some more handouts or whatever, you want to know about those. So stay on the list. And again, I won't spam you. That list is created exclusively for members of my barter training.